Let me see. Oh, good. We have a lot of participants. And hopefully, if everything works out, you guys, we will be back in person the first week in February. So things aren't going to be as I plan for obvious reasons, but we're going to do the best we can with what we've got. And actually, Jordan, I'm going to have you take down that slide for right now because I we have a special guest and she is giving of her time this morning, and I reached out to Annie 2 days ago and I'm like, Annie, help me. So Annie, would you introduce yourself, and then from there Annie's going to go into part of what her listing presentation looks like and how she got to where she is today. So I'm going to hand it off to you, my love.
Hello, everyone. Boy, I was 2 years ago sitting in your seats going, what the hell did I just do? And this industry is so damn big and I know nothing about real estate. How the hell am I going to do this job? What was I thinking quitting my job and doing this? A little bit of background on me. I moved to Milwaukee 30 years ago, and I came to run a national touring children's theater, which I ran for 7 years. And then I ran Kothi Dance Company, which is the African dance company in town. I ran the business end of Kothi. I went to Milwaukee Rep, worked at Milwaukee Rep for 12 years. And so I was a total arts chick. And then I went to Big Brothers Big Sisters and was their head fundraiser, and decided I had one more big job in me and decided to shake it up for my last job. And so I had so many donors that had crappy real estate deals because all the real estate agent wanted was to write a contract. They didn't want to help people. They were short with their time. And all they did was fast, fast, fast. And so I knew it could be done better. And so I decided I would study, got my real estate degree, went a little further and got my senior real estate accreditation. So you can go and get 18 hours more of education to get to become certified to help seniors. And then I started at Keller Williams. I did Ignite. For those of you who haven't done Ignite or are not in Ignite, get in it. That was a great way to start. And I went to every productivity class that Janine had. Right after productivity on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I sat at the library tables in the front of the North Shore office and sat there all day. So everybody knew where to find me. And after 6 months, I cried on Janine's shoulders going, what the hell? I got nothing. I'm doing everything they say, and I haven't found my momentum. And Janine was so good and was like, Annie, just keep at it. So that first year, which is really a first 6 months, so of 19, I had one deal. And it was the craziest deal ever, finding a home for a woman who lived in Seattle. So everything I showed her was through FaceTime. Her budget was $100,000. Her need list was huge. And we found it. We had to camera out of 4 deals before we found the deal that she found. But I tell you, those deals, you learn the most on them. So lean into them instead of running away. The next year I worked with, it was the first COVID year, and I did 10 deals. And then last year I did 23 deals. And so it will come, I promise you, if you stick at it.
So, Annie, you and I were talking on Tuesday. Your first full year of transactions was buyer heavy, and what did it look like this past year for you?
It's 50-50. So
Okay.
when I first started, I was afraid to lean into my sphere, to be honest with you,
Mm-hmm.
because I was afraid they'd be like, girl, what the hell are you doing? You're in real estate now? What's going on? And what do you know about real estate? And so I was afraid of going to them and talking with them. And so I knew that my way to get clients were open houses. And I became the queen of open houses. I have, I worked with Janine, but I have open house slips. I have everybody fill out an open house slip. I have all the open house slips since I started. And anyone who did not have an agent, I put in the database. And to this day, I still send them monthly an email with homes that were in that area. And last year I was able to convert 2 of those that were a year and a half old. But every month I send them a personal email through MLS, because then you know if they've opened, or through MLS, because you know if they opened it or not, which is the key, and keep track of it. But those people will come about. But then last year I really leaned into my sphere and they got it. And then it's been easier. It's been much easier, because open houses are a little bit different now. They're not as easy as they used to be.
Right. And they're few and far between. That's the issue that, we're all having right now. So,
Right.
the next question I was going to have ask you is, now that I've got you, if there is, okay, 2 questions. The first one is, if you were to start all over again and knowing what you know now, what would you have done differently, if anything?
I would have found someone that I could have, somebody who was more advanced, who I could really partner with and help them, give up my service free of charge, help them, but through that, learn the business.
Got it. So
And
really
so,
having a mentor that you are the mentee, they are the mentor, and you are helping them with their business, and therefore they're helping you.
yes, I would do everything I could to help them and give freely of your time.
Yeah. My next question is, if there's the biggest piece of advice that you could give someone starting out right now, what would it be?
I was shocked how many classes and how much information is thrown at you. I mean, it's like there is a huge funnel above you and all these classes and emails. This is the way to do it. This is the way to do it. This is the way to do this. It's daunting to figure out what works though. And the problem is what works for me isn't what going to be what works for you necessarily. And so one of the things that was the smartest thing, there was a group of gals that were in my productivity class. And we decided that we were going to be the team. And so there are 10 of us that we meet every Tuesday. And we have a text string that if somebody needs help with an open house, or you have a question, what should I put here in this link, or in this form, what goes here? And everybody chimes in to answer. But that has been so helpful. So find people that are at your area, where you are in production, and gather a group together and be your own team. But that has been so successful, because I think all of us have capped in that time. So in the 2 years, I think every single person in that group has capped plus.
So find your tribe, right? Create your tribe.
Right.
That's the thing. You have to go out there and create and find your own tribe. So, especially if you're a solo agent, I think that is like, whoa, first thing and foremost. I love what you did because I saw you every single day, is that you were sitting at that table at the market center, front and center. Everyone could see you, and you probably took in a ton of information just overhearing conversations, because that's how you're going to learn, is through others. So, all right. So now we're going to kind of go into, because we're talking about listings this month. Okay, Annie, you're called to a listing appointment. You're pulling the comparables. And now what the heck does Annie do?
Well, when I get a seller calls me, I have a listing questionnaire. My computer, which I can't figure out what camera I'm on. Oh, it's because it's blurry. Got it. Sorry. I blurred out the background just because it's all a mess.
I want to know how to do that, because I noticed that Katie Rink is doing that too. I'm like, I had to move my whole, well, never mind. Go ahead. I'm off.
So I have a selling questionnaire that I found. There are two sites that are really good: Zurple, Zurple, and quite frankly, Etsy. You think about Etsy as being the shop to get fun, creative tools. But if you go on Etsy, like I just bought my newsletter from Etsy yesterday. I wanted to switch up the look of my newsletter, and I bought the template on Etsy, and it's wonderful. And you just redo it in Canva, and it's $7. And I'll be able to use that for the year and just change it up. So, but there was a seller questionnaire that I go through this whole form on the phone with them. But the biggest thing on that first conversation, I'm creating the connection. If you don't create that connection, so don't be, oh, great. What is this? What is this? What is this? You talk to them like you're talking to your grandma, like your aunt, like your friend. Talk to them and make a connection. Find out why they're wanting to sell. Find out what their motivation is. You can find out so much in that initial phone call that you'll be set for the meeting. You'll know the tone right away. So I fill this out, which I can provide. I'm happy to share anything. That's one of my biggest things is I will, after this meeting, Janine, you can find, I'm just annie.j@kw.com. I will share whatever you want.
And we'll put it into the comments so everyone will have it.
Great. So I have a seller's questionnaire that I fill out beforehand, and then I do the command. I send them the command listing package that I created that just basically goes over the package, and then and has my bio, so that they can read that ahead of time, which I would say 90% of the people do. 90% of the people go through the listing package. And this is just the way I do it. Everybody does it differently, but I send that out ahead of time. And so then I, go to the meeting. Before the meeting, I always make sure I do comparables, but I don't come up with an exact price yet, because it's not until you walk through their house. Because when I've done that, I've gone in sure as shooting that this was going to be the price of the house. And then I walk in and went, oh, the renovations you said you did on the kitchen, those were done 20 years ago. And it's not, I can't say that this kitchen is renovated. The bathrooms, yeah, just adding brown paint to the walls, that's not renovated. And so it's when you walk through the house that you find out what is actually with the house. So I come up with comparables that are in the area. I always use in MLS, the Maponics, the neighborhood Maponics, so that you're doing comparables in that neighborhood, not the whole Wauwatosa, but I do that neighborhood of Wauwatosa. If you don't know how to use Maponics, go to an MLS class, because that is saved my butt so many times.
And you
So
can get right on MLS and go to the training section, and they have videos, you guys. So if you are not comfortable with pulling comparables, there's absolutely no excuse. Um, Go to the training section of MLS, and they have the best videos, and you will be a rock star at it. So that could be a whole day for you or more.
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. So then I come in with those comparables, and then I have an agenda. I always never go into a meeting without an agenda. I don't care if you are going coffee with friends, think about what your purpose is for having coffee with friends. If but in a listing appointment, I have an agenda. And so I have a general agenda that then I tweak for every meeting. So I don't know if you want me to share this stuff, Janine, or
Well,
not.
you know what? If you want to,
I can
if
just
you
show it on the
can
screen.
can you share your screen?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Can you see my screen now with the prior to the visit?
Yep.
Okay, great. So I do this agenda where I first tour through the home. The biggest thing when I tour through the home, and it's not a long tour, this is a quick tour that I want to hear. You learn a lot from the seller when you tour the home quickly, because you hear, oh my God, this kitchen, this is their favorite kitchen ever. Especially if you're helping them buy, then you will know what they care about the most about a house and where their pain points are, where their joy points are. But it's also an idea. It's also a time that I get it through their head that they got to get rid of personal photos. I got the personal items, and that they have to take them down. So their big living room wall of all the wedding photos of all of their family, I'm like, that's all got to come down. And they're always horrified. But then I tell them the last listing I had, it went, because we get a report, it went to over 1,200 websites across the country. Do you want your personal photos sent to over 1,200 websites? I've never had anyone balk over that since, but people just need to be reminded. But then it's also an opportunity to talk about clutter, because we all got it. And so just, is there a place that they can put things? And so we just quickly go through the house, but then we just talk about clutter and things that they can change to make the house great. And so then the next thing I talk about the timeline and the selling process. I have another, sorry, let me just do this. Sorry. Okay, are you guys seeing the home selling process?
Yep. Yes.
Okay, so I go quickly over this. And it's the home selling process that this is a flow chart. I found Natalie, who's in your class. Natalie and I work together a lot. Natalie is a wonderful new agent, and she has helped me a lot. And so she helped me put this together. And this is just an overview, because people don't want to go over with words. People like pictures. People like, okay, what's the order? How do we do this? And so I go over what the process of how this is all going to work, because it's really important that people understand what's going to happen and how it's going to happen, so that they're clear about it. And so I go through this again. I'm happy to share this. And that usually takes a while. That's where I spend a lot of time. And I talk about the timeline. The timelines are the important part. And then before we go into comps or anything, I think one of the most important questions to ask is, what is the price of the house that they're hoping for? That question will tell you everything. That question will tell you, the ones that I love the most is when you're doing comps and you think that the house will be about 270-ish. and they come in and they say, oh, I think maybe 200,000. Those are the sellers I love the most. The sellers that are the most difficult are the ones that say, I think $400,000 because the house down the street went for $400,000. So I think that's what I should get. That's much harder to pull them back than to push them up. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. So then once I find out where they are, we review comps. And so with comps, there's a list. You can print the list view in MLS. And so I print it, and then I actually handwrite on there, new kitchen, new bathroom, what each one, I go through each comp and we compare it then. And so, and then we come up with a price. And usually that goes pretty easy unless they're way out of the ballpark. Then in this COVID age, we talk about a single party listing. I work with a lot of older clients, so sometimes a single party listing is more attractive to them than putting it on the market. And so we discuss that. And then, you know, a lot of times people are wanting to take advantage of this seller's market. So they want to sell first before they buy. And we talk about strategies with that, renting back. I had a woman sell her condo and she rented back for 3 months. And the buyers gave her a free 3 months, which was great. And it took almost all 3 months for her to find the house that she bought. So, but we talk about all through that. And then we go through, ask if they have any questions about the listing packet that I sent out ahead of time. I find out if they've read it. So again, that overviews the process. And then we do a seller's net sheet. So we came up with a price. Are all you guys familiar with where to find a seller's net sheet? There is a Keller Williams, Kimmy created one, and I can share that as well if you'd like. And it's just, you put in the price and it calculates it all. You should have the Focus Title app because that'll do it on your phone. And that is crucial to have. I don't know what I would do without that Focus Title app. But this piece of paper, I usually come in going with 3 prices and showing them what the bottom line, what they're going to walk away with. And then we review the paperwork. And so we go through the listing contract. I know Janine and Jay espouse all the time to have that listing contract signed at this meeting. And I get that. A lot of times my sellers are older and I'm finding out what they have for appliances. And so everything isn't written in on the listing contract. And so a lot of times I have two meetings with the seller. Go ahead, Janine. I know.
Yeah. Okay. So that also happens to us. I handwrite it in when I get there. It's not going to be pretty. There's going to be some typed in things, but I may have to cross something out, initial it, just because I have been burned. If you haven't, people, you will be. By walking out of an appointment, and I could have gotten that listing paperwork signed, but I didn't have it with me. And I just knew they were going to list with me. I mean, flip hands down, I've got it in the bag. And guess what? Somebody came in behind me and got it signed. So just be careful. Just be careful. But you can handwrite things in. It's not going to be beautiful, but honestly, who cares?
And I would say half my appointments, I do that. Half my appointments, I find out ahead of time and it's all filled out. So it just depends.
And you know what? You're right. With your older clientele, the worst thing in the world is for either party to feel like they made a rash decision.
Right.
So their process of moving could be quite different than we've got to move right away and we're interviewing agents. That's when you sit in your chair and you don't leave. But this is different, Annie. So
Yeah.
there you go. Yeah.
Um, so then we talk through, the different contract, the listing contract, addendum S, the home warranty, explain that to them. And the title documents that you need to have them sign because you need wet signatures for some of the title documents. And then we talk about the seller's homework. And I explained to them about the real estate condition report. And I really say, I put as much on there as you can. And that scares most people because they don't want to admit that their house has faults. And so we go through that and then ask them to locate their title and talk about showings and how they want to do showings. For a lot of my older clients, I ask for the first weekend that it's, because the best is to have it go live on Wednesday or Thursday and have open houses that weekend and have long open houses on Saturday and Sunday. And I ask if they can go away and stay with a relative for the weekend.
Smart.
And that way they are not bothered by having to get the house ready for open houses, and that we can just come in and out as needed. And then they're not bothered. That works the best. I schedule photography. I have I have a photo checklist. So this is a checklist of all the things that, and I quickly go through this of what needs to happen before the photo shoot, but I'm always there for the photo shoot. I am never not there. I always attend the photo shoot.
Why? Why do you do that, Annie? Tell us.
Oh, because
I had the same question.
I am so particular about how I want the photo shoot to go.
Okay.
I don't trust. I mean, I have phenomenal photographer, absolutely phenomenal. A lot of times I'm working with seniors that are not, my clientele is very different than Janine's. My clientele is not going to necessarily have the resources to do a lot of staging. And so I bring in decorative items, but I work with a wonderful photographer who does virtual staging. And her photo editor, so she takes it during the day, and her photo editor at night lives in Korea. And
Wow.
he does a phenomenal job with adding wonderful furniture. And then you go to Home Depot and you take that photo and you can blow it up to a big poster size. And you use that green tape, green snot tape, the silly putty kind of, and you
Yeah.
can put it on any wall. And so I put it on the main wall of the room, a staged photo. And that way, for people who don't have the imagination of what this room could look like with furniture, they have a photo of it right there.
You're
And I've been
brilliant,
very
Annie.
successful with that.
You're brilliant. Katie Rinka had a question, I think. Somebody did.
No, same question. I'm sorry. What you said, Janine, like why she's at every photo shoot, but it makes sense now.
Yeah, I mean, if you look through some photos and you see, oh my gosh, and it's not KW, it's and you don't see it a whole lot. You saw it a lot more a few years ago. Beds unmade, towels like are not hung right on the towel bar. I mean, and then it just drives you nuts. It's like your eye goes right there, and honestly, all of a sudden you're thinking, you know what? I probably could offer less than that. They just don't seem to have their act together. I mean, that's really the thought process. And people are very critical. They buy online. So, it needs to be pretty darn close to perfect.
I think light is the big issue with photos.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than looking at photos on a listing and every room is dark, that you're kind of putting your face to the computer screen to be able to see what's actually in that photo. I want to have as much light as possible.
Yeah.
And so that's also why I go to the photo shoot, is that I open up all the windows. I want to make sure I open up the blinds so that, you know, we get as much light into the room as possible.
Love it.
So
I was going to add to that too, because I had gone to a number of photo shoots. I think going to those two, like you said, with the blinds, sometimes photographers don't close those blinds, and that can be like a huge security issue as well. So it's beneficial to be able to go in and turn the lights off and then reclose those blinds too.
absolutely.
Good point, Danny. And I'm going to tell you a horror story, because everything that happens to me, I will share. I've done some real interesting things. Okay, so I went to a photo shoot. It was a lot of clutter. They didn't follow the tasks that we had planned for them. So I'm running around, literally putting things away, like removing things, blah, blah, blah. And then after the photo shoot, I am trying to remember, like, okay, where did I put that? Where did that go? So I thought I did a pretty darn good job, but later that day, I got a phone call from the seller. Janine, do you know where the TV remotes are? And I'm like, it literally took them an hour and a half to find them. So now what you should do is, if you're going to be moving any of their things and you're going to put it back, just a little tip, take photos of where it was. So then you can go back in and go, oh yeah, that was over there. Just a little tip.
Oh,
Tip
Natalie taught me that, and it is so important. So important to do.
You don't want to set them off. It's just not good.
But-
Okay, so then what do you do after that?
And so then we start talking about the timeline, finding out, let's schedule, when can we do the photography? When, you know, get a general timeline. When do you want to go live? When are going to be the open houses? And explain to them the importance. Talk about the lockbox. So you get the timeline done. And then I go back and I measure the rooms, especially, you know, I work with a lot of homes that have never been on MLS.
Mm-hmm.
And so you get an electronic, they're really cheap, and you get an electronic measure, a room measure, and you go through and you measure the rooms. You print off the form on MLS. I don't have that up. There's a form on MLS that you can print that gives you all the rooms and what, and you just fill it out of what the room size is. It makes it really easy. Under reports, you go under residential listing, and you find, and it has all the information you're going to need in order to put this up in MLS. And your whole thing is that most sellers, there's fear in them. There's fear of people aren't going to like my house. There's fear that no one's going to show up. There's fear that they're not going to find a buyer.
Yeah.
There's always some trepidation and fear. And so your job, I believe, is to find out what is the biggest load on that seller, and you work to relieve that load. You work to assure them that this is all going to work out fine. And you do that through not talking down to them, empathy and caring about getting them to the next chapter as smooth as possible, because that's your job.
Yep.
And always lead with kindness. Always.
And, you know, Annie, you started out with your big why, and that is huge as to why you got into this business. And you have to have your why. You have to ask yourself, really, why am I doing this? And yeah, the money can be great, but you know what? You're going to be working for way less than minimum wage for quite a while. You may not get a paycheck for 6 months, some up to a year. As scary as that is, even if you're working your rear end off, it's that you just have to think in those terms, and you have to rely on your big why, your passion. And if you don't have that figured out, I suggest that you sit down with yourself and really work on that first and foremost before you go and take any class, because that's not going to fill the bucket that you're going to need to fill others. Compassion and empathy is number one on this list. There are a lot of superstar, they start out the gate running, and then where are they 2-3 years after that? They have burned out. So just be very careful. And Annie is a true example of setting her big why from the very beginning, and she knows it and she owns it, and then she carries that through to everything that she does. And honestly, that's why you are very successful.
Oh, thank you. And I do work with seniors because that is my big why. But last year, out of the 23 deals that I did, I would say 10 were seniors. The rest were my sphere and a lot of first-time home buyers, because if you learn to work with your niche, whatever your niche is going to be, and learn it well, and then you can work with other people aside from your niche, but what you learn from your niche will help, first-time home buyers. It's perfect for first-time home buyers because you're explaining everything in detail. But pick up your cues from the person you're selling with. If you've got Mr. Seller who is boom, 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 and they've done this 100 times, well, then you can go through things quicker.
Yeah.
But make sure that your brand is on everything so that they know that you're going to be doing it your way, so that it's how you want them to follow your path.
Right. And you can have the shiniest, glossiest, wowza presentation that looks just absolutely amazing. And that will mean absolutely zilch, zero, nada to the person that you're presenting to if you yourself are not connecting with the person across the table. It will mean absolutely nothing. And you all know what I'm talking about. So the connection part and really the empathetic and listening, that listing appointment should be honestly 75% of them talking and 25% of you presenting. As you are presenting, you're asking a lot of questions, and the more they talk, the more likely you will be able to list their home. That's what I have found out.
And the reason I do an agenda is because we all talk about scripts, and scripts are great to know what to say, but it shouldn't ever be a script.
Right.
What you need to say, but you follow the agenda. So you have the outline of what to say, but not every word of what to say. Because when you're following every word of what you have to say, that's when you sound like a salesperson.
Right. And if you don't have an agenda and you don't have a plan and you're winging it, well, that is your script. And that's not what you want.
Right.
Right. So having an agenda is super important to stay on track. You don't want to wing it, because you know what? I've done that too. And it didn't work.
Right.
I tried that a lot. I'm like, oh my God, I know these people. I've got it. Oh God, no. So be very mindful. This is super helpful. Right. Any questions for Annie? Other than Annie, I'll post your email, and then you're probably gonna be besieged with about 20 some participants they're gonna ask for your data, your forms and everything, which I know you will share, and as I will share mine as well.
And I just please note that I'm going out of town, and if I don't get to you until next week, it's just that I'm out of town for a little bit.
You know what, Annie? Why don't you send those to me? Send
Okay.
your PDF to me, and you guys email me, and we will take care of it. We'll leave Annie alone because she's supposed to be going somewhere really fun.
Hey, Annie, it's Bethany.
Hey, Bethany.
Hi. Can I ask you a question that a lot of the newbies
Absolutely.
are probably thinking in their head and don't want to ask, so I'll take the hit. So when you go in and when you were new and you didn't have like any listings or very few under your belt, how did you go in there and talk to the sellers with the confidence like, oh yeah, I've done this before? Did anyone ever actually ask you, how many listings have you done?
No, and I was scared to death that they were going to.
Correct. Yes.
Absolutely scared to death that they were going to. And so this is when you lean in on Keller Williams.
Yeah.
Right.
I interviewed many, I interviewed Caldwell Bank. I mean, I interviewed other firms before I came to Keller Williams. And one of the things that I loved about Keller Williams is that we're all on an even playing field. If I'm having and I knew this right away when I was trying to do a search in MLS when I first started at the library tables and I couldn't figure it out. And Jay was right there. And I was like, can I bother you? I'm trying to figure out how to do homes that are only on certain lakes. And he's like, oh, sure, Annie. And he went and he helped me on how to put that in MLS. And so you got a team. So what I suggest is you go on your first listing appointments, grab one of your fellow classmates and go together, because that will give you the confidence. If you just go by yourself, then it's all on you. But if you go with another person, that's helpful.
Yes, and you can tell them that they're your team member and you have
Absolutely.
a transaction coordinator and you have a marketing person and everything, because they are there. You can pull them in if you choose to.
Correct. Correct.
Janine, you still have people. I mean, you still go as a team, don't you? Or are you, the seasoned person you are, do you go alone?
It depends. Well, no, I never go alone because I have my assistant Jordan with me at all times on my hip. It depends on the listing. If it's something that Jay and I decide, it's like, I got this or you've got that, but typically we always went with one another and with Jordan, who takes all the notes because we suck at that. So I highly recommend going with somebody, especially your first year or two. We encourage everyone on our team, bring a teammate, bring myself or Jay or your mentor, or, two heads are better than one. You're going to be, one of us might be talking too much. And it's usually not me, just to say, and I will maybe kick somebody or make a movement like, they're rolling their eyes in the back of their head. We need to move forward. It's really good to have two people kind of pick up the language. Also, I think when I first started, when I was touring the home, when they were showing us the home, I was oohing and ahhing way too much. Like, oh my gosh, I love that. And I would get the look like, Janine, shush. Because they're thinking, oh my gosh, my price is just going up higher and higher. She loves it. And then when you sit down with them and you're trying to backpedal a little bit, it's very difficult. So I still ooh and ah, and I'm only oohing and ahhing if I really feel that way. I'm not just, blowing smoke, but be very careful with that. That's why two people sometimes is really good just to bounce off of.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
Do people ever feel like they're being ganged up on because you have two salespeople in the room?
Yeah.
Does it ever make them feel like they're being ganged up on and pressured into it?
That is a great question. So they always will know. Jay and I will say, you know, I'm bringing my teammate Jay, I'm bringing my partner Jay. You know, it's always out there that it will be more than one of us. Or I'm always bringing Jordan. She takes the notes. She's, you know, writing everything down as we're talking. And believe me, you want her there. Otherwise, it'll be a complete disaster. So I always kind of let people know with a little comedy in there. I'm bringing, you know, so-and-so with me. A lot of times we have newer agents on our team that literally shadow us. So we'll say we have a new member on our team and he will be shadowing this listing appointment. We've never had any pushback. But when you show up to the door and there's 3 people there and they didn't know it, you know, you don't want to do that. So that's right. Let them know.
And the biggest thing
So
is that,
how would,
so there's one person that is always presenting. So Natalie comes on a lot of my listing appointments and she knows we have it worked out where I'm going to be the one that is going to be passionately connecting with that seller and answering their questions and really being with that conversation. Natalie's the one writing the notes and making sure, oh, we've got to check out that basement. Remember, they said that there was a big crack in the southeast wall where it's stuff that, because I'm in the passion of creating this relationship,
Right.
Natalie's the one that's the rational outsider that's creating the notes that we have to follow. So
Don't forget
having
to
someone-
always get an email. I feel like that's so easy to forget, but make sure to get that. I'll just say that now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So true. And
So
both,
it's having another person who's going to be your wingman is so important, but they need to be your silent partner in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
Knowing that there's one person that's going to be presenting.
Yeah, I mean, if you have 2 that have big mouths, you know, literally someone's got to be the lead and someone can interject. But there were many times that I would be sitting at an appointment with somebody and I am not kidding. I am biting my tongue because I want to say something. I'm like, oh God, no. I am biting it because you don't want to be verbally throwing out a bunch of words at them. They're like, wait, who's leading this thing? So, all right, we are going to move on. Thank you, Annie, and you're more than welcome to stay on. You are a rock star. Thank you.
I'm always available. If ever you guys have any questions, please stop me. And I'm happy to help in any way. You guys will make it. I promise. Just keep working at it.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good day, guys.
Thanks, Annie.
Annie, have fun on your trip.
Bye,
Okay, when we
Annie.
get there. Yes.
Thank you.
Bye.
So I'm going to roll kind of quickly through my listing presentation. And this is something that you guys did not happen overnight. This is 7 years in the making of putting our listing presentation together. So when I have a listing appointment, I am either dropping this information off depending on who my client is. If they're older and, you know, they're not going to pick up an email, I will be just hand delivering this to them a couple days prior to our listing appointment. And I'll just put it in their door and I'll let them know. Otherwise, I will send this out via email and have them take a look at it. And I'm also bringing this in a hard copy with me to the listing appointment. So here we go. And Jordan is behind the scenes going through, pushing this through. So we can continue on. So this is just pretty things. We have a mission statement. So this is kind of going to be attached to your big why. So you should have a mission statement and you can read through this, but I'll just say, you know, our mission is to provide a premium real estate experience for our clients by having a team of experts for every aspect of the real estate selling journey. So that's kind of our mission, is that we have a team of experts for every component of the process. It doesn't mean that our process is going to be better than an individual agent, but that's how we are marketing ourselves. And you can do the same as an individual because you do have a team of Keller Williams behind you. And our mission statement is that our focus is on you. Okay. And then here is our team. And this would be your bio. So it's talking about just about us, and then who really is on my team, my support. And we talk about the success team, you know, how our team is structured, our agents, and then also about Keller Williams. So our team, our agents, and Keller Williams. Okay. And then we have the actual listing process. So kind of like what Annie had, basically the same thing, and how we go about listing your house. We tour your home. We have a staging consult, which is a completely different appointment. Then we have a photo session, and then we show your home, you know, and we'll get into all the details of showing time and all of this, but this is very simple. We review your offers. Of course, we accept an offer. We have a home inspection, or the buyers do. There is an appraisal, and then there's final steps, and then you close. So 9 components that we talk about. And then we go into detail depending on how much detail you need to go into. And then we talk about our marketing plan, which everyone wants to know, like, how are you going to be different in marketing my house? So a lot of this, you guys, is the same for every agent. So we do coming soon. We put every single listing in delayed, ideally 3 weeks. Sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes it needs to be a week, 10 days. You have to kind of figure out what's going to be the best approach. And we also say that once we put that listing in delayed, we call all the agents that are selling homes in your neighborhood and let them know about your property. Even though it's in delayed and they can see it, we are still going to be reaching out to these agents. We network, we have our staging consult, we have the professional photography. This is all before it goes public. And then we have our Thursday, we go live on Thursdays. We have open houses that day on Thursday, and then the weekend. We do a broker email blast, we do a social media blast, and then it's syndicated to thousands of websites throughout the United States, on top of Trulia and Zillow. We don't even know the websites. I mean, it's going to shorewest.com. So they're going to show up everywhere organically. And then we talk about what happens when it's listed. During the listing, we do weekly updates. Honestly, at this point, we're not even doing weekly updates because 9 times out of 10, they're sold quickly. We're doing sometime an hourly update. It just depends. We talk about the internet click reports. We'll send those out. We're also doing circle prospecting and networking. So meaning we're talking to the people that are in our database that are buyers, and we're sending them your house. We're networking, and we're doing social media. And then we go into the strategies and services that we provide. Well-researched pricing is very important. The staging, the photography, our open house strategy, our door knocking, the print marketing, the digital, blah, 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 blah. All these things that you can do as an individual agent, we're just listing them out because you're really doing all these things. We're just putting them and itemizing them. Okay, next page. We introduce our stager and talk about what those stages are for staging, what the main goals are. And then next page, we have examples of our staging. We highlight our photographer and talk about, this particular, our photographer is in-house, and that's his one thing that he does for us he does marketing too, but he's an expert at it. You will find your photographer. There's many sources. Talk about your photographer. They're on your team. And we also have an equity experts program, which now the KW has rolled out a very similar program. So we'll probably be eliminating this slide at some point. And we have examples of what we've done. We have reviews from our clients. So once you have sold some properties, you can get some reviews. If you don't have any, ask to see if there's any just common KW reviews that somebody could share with you that doesn't necessarily have to be an agent, maybe about Keller Williams. You won't be at this point with your stats yet because you're brand new. So obviously you're not going to have that as a part of your slide. When I first started out and I had absolutely no stats, you know, my worst fear was someone asking me how many homes I've sold, and I could literally say 0. I would be completely honest with them and say, you know what, I haven't sold a home yet, but I have a team behind me, mentors that are going to be supporting me. And honestly, you will be 100% of my attention. And if I don't know the answer, I will find the answer. And I won a lot of listings that way because I was brand new. Sometimes those seasoned agents are dropping the ball. They don't communicate. They don't call back. They're non-responsive. That's the biggest number one thing I hear from buyers and sellers. So you can sell them on that you have all the time in the world, and that, you know, and then you're going to have to incorporate your big why. Why are you doing this? So that they are going to entrust their largest asset with you. And it will happen. They're going to do it, you guys, and you won't believe it, but it's going to happen. Okay. And then we have contractors that we like to use, and we always hand those out because at some point in time, we will be calling on these contractors, most likely after a pre-home inspection or a home inspection, that we need to get these guys in here and help us out. So we always have these readily available for everybody. And
Hey, Janine.
hey, yeah.
Hi, a quick question. I've heard this a couple times with the pre-inspection. Is that something that's, one, very common, two, our owners, you know, during a listing appointment, are they concerned about having a pre-inspection? Because then they obviously are bound to talk about and put down if things are not what they're supposed to be.
Yeah, good question. So the question is, yeah, we highly promote having a pre-listing inspection, and this is why. Number one reason is that there will be some buyers that will write without a home inspection contingency. We saw this a lot last year. And what also happened because of that, the buyers went off of the seller's condition report as the Bible. That is what's wrong with the house, if anything. And guess what? No matter what is on that condition report, there's going to be a lot more that the sellers are not aware of. So what happened, you know, what was happening is that these buyers would buy it, they go by the condition report, they close, they waived, you know, they waived everything, they get in there, and now they're finding all of this stuff. Guess who they're suing? They're suing the seller, but guess what? As an agent, you're getting involved. So for legal reasons, we highly suggest that you have a pre-home inspection. And yes, here you go. We did a home inspection. It's not necessarily going to state that you're going to fix everything that on that home inspection, but you can address some issues, and you can leave the others and just close them. That way, when we do get an offer on a property, most likely, but not all the time, you're going to get agents that will ask for that copy of the home inspection. The buyers are now in receipt, and they will waive it. because now they have a report. So I always say to the seller, I myself as a seller would want to be in the driver's seat during this transaction and have some control. And you will be having that driver's seat by having that pre-home inspection.
So can I ask a
Because-
question?
Yeah,
So let's say you don't do a pre-home inspection and you
Mhm.
have a buyer and they, waive the inspection, and us on our end, we have that waiver that we have our buyers, the acknowledgement.
yep.
But what if the other agent doesn't have the buyer do it? Is there something that us on the seller's side, can we send them something to be like, we need you to sign this to acknowledge you waived the inspection? Is
Yeah,
that
you
a
can-
thing?
Yeah, you can send that over. I
Okay.
would. I have.
Okay,
Yep.
okay, all right. I just never heard it from the sell side. I've always heard it from the buy side.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Okay.
you want everything in writing. So, all right. So we go over our goals, our services, and then we share our stats. So this is our JSG stats. Now, you guys, if you're not on a team or any of these teams, you're not going to have this data. But every single week, Charlie sends out the market report of where Keller Williams sits compared to others. That's the data that you want to share. I'm going to tell you, honestly, that is going to be enough. They want to know what the Keller Williams presence is. And, you're looking at this, and a lot of these people are at Keller Williams. So, that's great. You can say that, we're the top in Metro MLS. We're, we've sold how many units as North Shore KW. You can get all of those stats and present that. They're not going to lean into it too much, but they want to see something. So don't be intimidated by this. I always, I hesitate for those who are on teams, but this is just what's in ours, and you can do the same with different stats. Okay, so this is our real estate homework. And it's really itemized of exactly what we need, and people love this, and this will alleviate a lot of questions. Your title, your prior title policy. It will save them a couple $100 on their title work. And the form will say Schedule A or Schedule B. Do not have them look for this while you are there unless they know exactly where it's at, because their mind will go, oh, I think I left it. Let me go. And then they're gone and they're going through paperwork and, oh my God, it's like, why did I even bring it up? So just say, when you do find it, let me know. We'll come and grab it. Don't do it now. Or if you're sending this out prior, one thing that you could have ready for us is your prior title. And this is what it would look like. So honestly, if they have that out when you get there, you pretty much know you're going to get the listing. Having an extra key. Oh my God, how many listing appointments have I been on that they don't even have a key to their house? They go in through their garage, or they never use the front door, so they've never used a key for the front door. So that's something that seems to happen quite a bit. They may have to get a locksmith and change the lock to get a key to the front door, because when you are listing a house, you don't want to go through a side door. You want to go through the front door to give everyone that experience of walking into the foyer. So seasonal photos of your front and backyard. This is really kind of cool. Ask your sellers, because one of the objections is going to be listing right now. I have such a beautiful yard, Janine. My flowers are beautiful in the spring and summer, and they're so proud of that. I can relate. And the ugliest time of the year is now, and I just don't think it's a good time. Actually, it's the best time, because lack of inventory. Do you have any seasonal photos that you can send to me? And what I'll do is that we'll print them out and we'll have them, at your home so people can take a look at your gardens. Oh, great idea. That will suffice. Okay, next things to know about this home, very specific, very specific. This helps. We put this in MLS. We have it part of our packet. Have them, they don't need to do it while you're there. You can get it before it goes live on the market. But just what they know about the house. All right, and then list of improvements. I have them take this paper and walk room by room, because more than likely they are going to forget that they have done improvements. They're like, oh my God, I forgot we did this, this, and this. So they're adding it on. So this is a really good exercise, and you can leave that there, or maybe they have it filled out before you get there. That's why you want to send it out prior. Okay, and then net sheet. I got to be honest with you, I rarely do this. I use my Focus Title app and go through their sale price, closing costs, balance. Honestly, a real quick way to do things is you're listing at 6%, and we charge $695 commission on top of that. It's about another 1% to close on your home. That's just a general, and it usually falls in with that extra 1%. But this will break it down. I see this more on homes that are, you know, $300,000 or less, that they really are watching every single penny, or they're using their proceeds to buy something else. But basically, it's going to be an extra percent on your 6%. Okay. And is that it, Jordan?
That's it. Yep.
That's it. So that's what's in our packet. Let's see what time it is. I'm going to go over a few objections while you're at the listing appointment. And ideally, I wanted to do this in person so I could roll out our presentation. But I'm going to throw out some objections, and I want to see if anyone can answer them, and just unmute yourself when you want to respond. Number one, I want to price my home higher right now because I can always lower it later. Anyone?
I
You
can
lower-
try. So in this market, you don't want to do a price drop if you know the first price drop is probably going to be at least $10,000, and anything, especially in this market that sits on the market and has a price drop, that's a red flag to most buyers that there must be something wrong.
Love it. Absolutely. I always say, I understand that. However, there is a difference between being on the market and being in the market. So by actually overpricing your home, you're going to lose money in the long run, because when there's one price reduction, there's usually two more behind it. So let's do the right thing now and list it at the right price, and then you can make the most money and close faster. How does that sound to you? Yeah.
Hey, Janine,
Hey, yeah.
is it also likely that you might miss out on some buyers or lose buyers if you've priced it too high? They then no longer consider the home an option.
Yes. So we are Midwestern nice, and buyers, when a house comes out and it's too high, they may not even look at it, but B, they're going to wait for a price reduction because they don't want to offend a seller. So you will be missing out on those buyers who are going to find another property, and they're going to write on that. And while others are waiting for yours to drop. So, you know, if you look at a lot of the stats now when you're listing a house, I just went on an appointment and I was blown away with how many actually sold for over asking price, right? Well, because they priced it correctly, they priced it competitively, they priced it to be in the market, not just on the market. So if you have a strategy of your pricing, you're actually going to be getting more. And the opportunity is that first week on the market. That's the window of opportunity. Number two, you know what? Natalie, you're great, but we need an agent with a bit more experience to sell our home. Anyone have any feedback on that one?
Well, I actually have a whole team behind me that is more than qualified, and they are going to help me every step of the way.
I love that. Anyone else? All right, so experience breaks down to truly understanding your needs. And you have shared with me why you want to move. And that's most important. So now I need to understand why you think certain parts of this transaction are most important to you. And so literally break it down. What is most important to you? Is it price? Is it your move out date? Try to take the conversation away from your lack of experience to what is most important to that seller, because I want to 100% understand your needs, and that's what experience is. So I would like to, and if they still say, you know, we still want to interview you, I would like to spend the next 15 minutes convincing you otherwise, because after all, this isn't about my experience, it's about yours. It's not about my experience, it's about yours.
That's a good one.
Yep, use it. I'm telling you guys, it works. These are all things that I did, and I would come home and write them down like, wait, what did I just say? And write, oh.
It's like, oh, I'm so awesome. I better write that down.
No, it just, you know, you all say things and then it's so great and then you forget what the heck you said. But it's really true. You want to take your lack of your experience out of it and go back to them with, you are listening to them. You've heard what they've said. You know what they need, and the experience is about them. It's not about you.
Well, I think that too, when you're a newer agent, you tend to maybe be more, you listen deeper than a more experienced agent who like whips through the house. They've done this a million times. And it's like they're just looking at the house and they're not looking at the people. They're not connecting with the people. So I think like as a newer agent, you have an advantage maybe in that way that, you know, you have time and heart to connect, and that's what they want. So that's what you have to offer instead of numbers of experience.
Yes. And I'm going to tell you, the people that have lived in their houses for quite some time and are ready to make a move, and they've raised their families in these homes, they want someone that is going to connect with them. And honestly, they don't give a rat's patootie about your experience as much. They want someone that's going to hold their hand through the process. And if you're empathetic and compassionate and smart and savvy, then you've got everything that it will take. Okay, so I know that the inventory is low, and regardless of what you think the property is worth, I want X amount for it, and that's what I will be getting. Well, we kind of talked about that. The way that we price it is to be close to or at the market where we think it's going to sell, blah, blah, blah. So it's kind of a redundant question. All right, never mind. Why do I have to sign a listing agreement? I really want to keep my options open.
So I'm able to negotiate for you and really give you all the information that this house has.
Yes. I love it. Anyone else?
Selling a
Yeah,
house is stressful enough. Why do you want all of the stress on you when I can take that off your shoulders?
Yes. I love it.
Also, we just spoke about, you know, all the photography, all of the things I'm going to do beforehand. You know, if I go through all of that and you decide to list with somebody else, you know, that's kind of a raw deal for me.
Perfect. this is what I say. I completely understand that you don't want to sign a contract. However, you know that every seasoned professional signs a contract with you, from attorneys to accountants. They all have a contract in place. That's how I work. And that's honestly all I say. I don't work without a contract, and this contract allows me to start selling your home. So let's do the right thing and let's get this signed today. I mean, honestly, you have to have the mindset of you are a salesperson, yes, but more importantly, you are a professional. You are not any different than an attorney or an accountant. You work when you have a contract signed. You
Well,
work because-
also,
yeah.
isn't it, it's like, I just told you everything that I'm going to commit to you. And I need you to commit back to me. And that's what that is. It's a commitment to each other.
Yeah. Yeah. And you don't want to put someone on the defense. I mean, honestly, you sit up straight and say, I don't work without a contract. I'm just like an attorney or an accountant.
You're a professional.
Yeah, right. So as soon as we get this signed, you guys, I can start working for you. I'm so excited. Let's go ahead and get this started. If they're still hesitant, and I have done this many a times, okay, let's go ahead and sign the contract. And I'm going to date it for tomorrow. If for any reason between now and tomorrow, you have changed your mind, call me and I will rip this up and it will be null and void. So let's go ahead and do the paperwork so we don't have to come back and do it again. And then if for any reason something has changed in your life, then I will go ahead and rip this contract up. And I have never, ever had someone call me and say, rip that contract up. By them going through the process, they're already done. They need to express themselves of their, and it's probably has nothing to do with you. It's just is like, oh my gosh, this is really happening. I'm a little nervous. So give them that out. And I've never had it taken. Okay, I love your marketing. I love you. I love everything about you, Danny, and I think you're great. And I'm willing to sign a contract with you, but can't we do it at 5%?
Who you're calling me on specifically?
I don't care who. No, I'm not. I just saw your face.
I was like,
Okay, you can sell my house, but 5%. Okay, that's a tough one. And hell yeah, it's going to happen. I'm going to tell you right now, it happens. So I appreciate that you're looking to walk away with the most amount of money. And that's obviously my goal for you. I want you to understand that 6% does not come to me. It is literally pretty much cut in half between the seller, the selling agent, and the buyer's agent. And from that, I only get a portion. So it makes me nervous, and I love this saying. You may want to write this one down. It makes me nervous when a real estate agent is going to offer to cut their commission as part of their marketing plan. I want you to understand that this is your largest asset, and when an offer comes to our table, I'm going to negotiate on your behalf. And your net, well, okay, let me re-say that. I stand behind my 6%, and it makes me nervous when other agents reduce their commission to get the listing sign. I am a tough negotiator, and I am not going to let you have any money sitting on the table when we negotiate. And when I say that, they realize that, okay, so this agent is willing to cut their commission for 5%, but how are they going to be negotiating on my behalf when it comes to the offer to purchase and the inspection? It's not something that I do. I don't take listings because someone has dropped theirs to 5%. I'm better than that. I'm better than that.
Hey, Janine, Abby actually had something to say about the last question in chat.
Well,
Actually-
Abby, what did you say?
Hi, can you hear me?
I can.
I'm at the North Shore office, so I didn't want to jump
Oh,
on. so I'm
hi,
sharing
Abby.
Bethany's
Yeah.
computer. Hi. So a couple things. One about the 5%. I recently had a seller ask me, but the way she framed it was, I heard some brokers are doing it for 5%. I said, oh, I heard some do it for 7%. And then we both just laughed and kept going.
Yeah.
Like that was all, like it wasn't even a thing. Like she didn't really care. It was almost like she wanted to just try
Yeah.
and see. And when she saw like I wasn't gonna change it, it was not a big deal. Like we just went on to the next part of the listing contract. So that worked too. Like, so I don't know.
I'm pretty forceful and they say, actually, that is a non-negotiable to me. And it makes me nervous when other agents are trying to get a listing by reducing the commission. How are they going to negotiate on your behalf when the offer comes to the table?
So is that
And-
kind of the same attitude for the flat fees too?
Yeah, the $695 commission is something that it's something that I can't touch. And then
Oh, no, not that. I mean, like Lake Country flat fee where those
Oh.
brokerages.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even go there. I mean,
You get
look
what
at
you
where they
pay
are
for.
in MLS compared to anyone else. They're not selling anywhere near Keller Williams. So you
Yeah.
get what you pay for.
And then Janine,
what-
too, with when you're signing the listing contract, what happens if they're just, planning ahead and they're like, we really want to list in 3 months? Then do you just date it for far out in the future? Do you have them sign something else?
So I always try to get a listing signed so you can do an MLS excluded listing for 3 months. You're not going to market it. You're not going to do anything. You really can't put anything in writing to another agent that you have this listing. It's literally just kind of, it's a listing agreement that's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to go into MLS. And then 3 weeks prior to them going live on the market, that's when you can do a new listing agreement and put it in delayed for 3 weeks.
Got
So
it.
put it in delayed ASAP as soon as you can.
And then do you overlap like the 3 weeks delayed or overlapping with the 3 weeks of excluded? Or once you get to the
If
delayed
you know a
sign-
specific date, then I would expire it, have it end the day before you can put it in delayed.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful.
Yep. Or you can expire that excluded listing and then have them sign a new listing agreement.
Mhm.
And let me tell you about that one. If you're doing it that way, this sounds really ridiculous. Have them sign the new listing agreement first and then expire your excluded.
I was gonna say that you gotta keep them,
Oh, honey, yeah, you got to keep them.
keep them.
Yep. And then what
Okay.
happens if they want, okay, so then Janine, do you include stagings or just you pay your stager for that? On our team, staging is included for homes that are priced 300 and I think it's 300,000 and up. We include staging at no cost to the seller. Now, mind you, not every house needs to be staged, and don't get your undies in a bundle if you are an individual agent and you aren't on a team and you don't have a stager. Not every house needs it. You can go in room by room and kind of, help them visualize decluttering. There are independent stagers that you can hire that you can have the seller pay for. And if that's the case, then I would tell them how staging works, that people buy online. First impressions are best. It's going to be worth the money invested.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I think this was from the first question where you said, it's not so much a question as like, this is something, I think Kathleen had said in Accelerator, is like they overprice their house and someone isn't looking at that metric as high on MLS. they're just, and you're trying to compare yourself with the houses in your neighborhood or et cetera. All the houses in your neighborhood are averaging, let's say 20, 30 grand less, and they're not putting that extra 20 to 30 grand in the MLS search, your house isn't even going to be looked at.
Right. And you know what else? That's a really good point. And also, I say buyers have buyer's agents. So they, just as you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, are going to be purchasing a new home, you're going to have an agent that's going to be working on your behalf and pulling all the data from, the searches that you have for your new home. So everything is going to be handled by a professional. So they're already going to know that that house is overpriced, and therefore you're going to get a low offer, if any. So, and then also we have to worry about the appraisal. If these other homes have sold for 20, 30,000 less than yours, I don't know how that appraisal is going to work in your favor. So scare them a little bit. And we have a lot of sellers that will say, you know what, oh my gosh, I can put my house on the market and I can get so much money because this market's bananas. You still have to be savvy in the pricing. You still have to look at the data. You just can't throw a number out there and you're going to get it, because it still needs to appraise. Buyers are still, they're savvy, and interest rates are going up. I think that is even going to make buyers even more, they're going to be paying more attention to that list price. They're going to get a little nervous. Like, shoot, I can't afford what I could afford a couple months ago. I want to make sure that I'm not overpaying for this house. So I think we're going to see that too. Okay, so I know a lot of you guys are in Ignite. But what I'd really like for you to work on is what Annie started out with in her presentation is, why are you in this business? Why? And you should have this ready to share next week. I want to know why you're here. And I think I've shared my why with you guys, just to give, because I struggled with this for a long time. It was a huge roadblock. And once I put it down and really resonated with it, that's when I started to sell real estate. That's when I really started to get business. Because I think in my mind, I had so many, just these beliefs that I couldn't do it, or, I had roadblocks. And as soon as I put it down on paper, I'm like, I got this. So my why is, as a kid and as an adult, I moved 14 times. I think the average life move is 11 times, believe it or not, but I moved 14 times. And I remember in 3rd grade, one of the moves from Baraboo, Wisconsin to Minneapolis, my mom and I were stuck while my dad moved on because we couldn't sell our house. And it was a horrible experience. And I remember telling my mom, I can do a better job than this woman. No communication. Our family is now split in 2 different places. My mom was extremely stressed out, and it affected me. And it affected me so much that every time I moved since then as an adult, I was very picky on the person that we hired as our agent. And the experience honestly did not matter. I wanted someone that was going to communicate with me, that could understand where I was coming from. I didn't care if they sold $2 million worth of properties or 200,000. It didn't matter. I needed that connection. So that's why I got into real estate, because I understand where you're coming from, and I've been there, and I am very sensitive to the process. So that's why I'm here to help you today. So that was my why. Every single meeting, every single listing appointment, every buyer agent appointment, I let people know why I'm here. You need to have that too. They want to know. They want to know who you are, why you're here. So Next week, we're going to be sharing our big whys. We're not going to be in person next week. I think it'll be, hopefully after that we will. So be prepared for that. And I'm going to leave it at that. Everything else in that listing packet you should be working on and creating, but your why is the first thing. And then a little biography on yourself. It doesn't have to be, long, just a little bit about you, because people want to know. They want to connect with you. They want to know who you are. Danny and Angela and Abby and Caitlin and everyone else on here, Katie, they want to know who the heck you are. So really fun and easy, hopefully. Work on those two things, and then we are going to share those. Does that sound good?
Absolutely.
Well, nice to see your beautiful faces. And email me. I put my email on here if you want the listing presentation for Annie and myself, and we'll get them out to you this week or as soon as Annie gets it to me. I promise to get those out to you before next class.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Bye.
Thanks, Janine.
Make it a great day.
See ya.
See you.